Peace, family. This is your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we host Night School, where we break down the most controversial subjects, the most engaging debates, the most interesting topics going on in the world today. And tonight is absolutely no different. We're on the road. In fact, you know what? Hold on one second. That might help. Is that light a little bit better? Yeah, we go. We're on the road. I am in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Just spoke at the University of Pittsburgh to an audience of brilliant, bright, bold Black students. I'm grateful for the opportunity. But now we're back at the hotel. Yo, these college students today be organizing stuff different, man. It was a wonderful event. Shout out to them. They had the event start at 9 o'clock, and that's not late until you hit middle age. Once these grades start coming in, 9 o'clock start time is wild. But it was wonderful to be out there with them. Wonderful to be part of the conversation. Wonderful to talk about some of the issues that matter, and wonderful to be around such an amazing and courageous group of students who are fearless in the face of institutional oppressions, structural oppression, state oppression. They're so dope, and they're doing such amazing work, and I'm grateful to it. Shout out to everybody out there who's writing in too. Mary, I see you out there. Mary Mayan, I see you out there. Leslie Young, Ifiolu, I see you. New, good to see you, good brother. I know it's early or later, however you want to call it. Oh, Grace, yeah, you got the time right, just like you did 2 hours ago. You ain't late, I am. But again, the event didn't end until 11:45, and so I'm just getting back to the hotel. We doing our best, but I'm great. I'm grateful. Let's get the work going, though, man. Let's talk about it. Let's. I'm reading the comments, but I want to get to the actual topics of conversation tonight, because your brother has to get up very early to fly back to the next thing. So let's talk about it. Senate Republicans just voted to keep this war going, and they did it on the record. On Wednesday, today, the Senate voted down a war powers resolution that would have forced President Trump to get congressional approval before continuing military strikes on Iran. The vote failed 47-53, mostly along party lines. But here's where it gets a little interesting. Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky voted to stop the war, and Democratic Senator John Fetterman of my home state of Pennsylvania voted to keep it going. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer put it plain before the vote. He said, "Today, every senator, every single one, will pick a side. Do you stand with the American people who are exhausted with forever wars in the Middle East, or do you stand with Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth as they bumble us headfirst into another war?" As you would expect, Republicans fired back. Senate Republican leader John Barrasso said, "Democrats would rather obstruct Donald Trump than obliterate Iran's nuclear plan, or national nuclear program, to quote him precisely." Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said on Wednesday that this war could now last 8 weeks. I don't know if you remember, but Donald Trump said 4 or 5 weeks max. In the same breath, Hegseth admitted that Iran is still capable of launching missile attacks, even as the U.S. tries to control Iranian airspace. General Dan Kane, who's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said at that same press conference, quote, "U.S. service members remain in harm's way, and we must be clear-eyed that the risk is still high." And of course, the human cost is already here. Reportedly, 6 U.S. military members were killed over the weekend in a drone strike in Kuwait, and Trump has not ruled out sending in ground troops. And his stated goals for this war they've already shifted from regime change, which was the initial point, to stopping Iran's nuclear program, which was the next point. Then it's dismantling its Navy and missile capabilities. That kind of moving target is exactly what drags wars on, not just for weeks and months, but for indeed decades. The House of Representatives, by the way, was set to vote Thursday uh, on its own resolution. Trump administration officials are making the rounds in Capitol Hill, and they're trying to basically keep Republicans in line. And they have to. The midterms are on the horizon. Every single one of these votes is now on record, and it's going to matter. It's absolutely going to matter. This is dangerous in lots of ways. But let's be clear. Again, this is not about regime change. This is not about, it's about geopolitical positioning. It's about money. It's about oil. It's about pleasing our client state of Israel, which is the long game in lots of ways for Donald Trump. This is not surprising that the vote went 47 to 53. Rand Paul, much like his father Ron Paul, is a libertarian, and he's like, we need to mind our own business. John Fetterman is the exact opposite of who he said he was when he ran for office. And so there's no surprise here that he's a Democrat in name only. He's a dino. And as much as I hate what Chuck Schumer often does, he was correct today. Everybody had to pick a side today. Everybody had to pick a side. And they did. They absolutely did. And as that side was chosen, we saw where people stand. Forever wars in the Middle East cannot happen. Now, where Chuck Schumer is wrong, or where Chuck Schumer is inaccurate, is that he talks about the American people being exhausted with forever wars in the Middle East and ignores the fact that the United States is the agent of chaos. The United States is the agent of disruption in the Middle East, which allows this to happen. Yeah, Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth are about to bumble us into another war. That's true. But what we don't understand, and the Middle East is very clear, Middle Eastern countries are very clear about this. The United States does not represent a steady ally. The United States is a friend to no one in the Middle East except itself. And so, and you could argue for the last 40 to 50 years, Israel. So what we're seeing right now is what happens when the U.S. loves Saudi Arabia, doesn't love Saudi Arabia, supports regime change in Iraq, destabilizes Iraq, loves Egypt, hates Egypt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? These shifting alliances and shifting relationships lead to disruption. To be specific, the idea of a forever war in the Middle East is irresponsible and dangerous because it implies that there's something intransigent about Arabs. There's something intractably violent about the Middle East, and it's not it. It's not that people can't get along. It's not that they've been fighting forever, which is part of the dominant narrative. It's that the United States is constantly disrupting. The UK and France and Germany are constantly disrupting at different points in history. The Dutch, at different points in history, not so much the Dutch really, but certainly the French, the British, and the US. Have disrupted so much and so often in the modern era that there's no stability. We could get into the weeds of this if you want to. And if you have questions, write them in. I'll do my best to respond. But at the end of the day, it is unavoidable that, actually, let me take this before I go there. Ifeolu says, people are quick to ignore colonialism in the Middle East, and it's so frustrating. That's exactly right. The story of the 20th century is the story of colonialism in the Middle East. When you talk about the Sykes-Picot Agreement, when you talk about the dividing of the Middle East, if you look at the Middle East in terms of those straight lines across the map, that ain't how the Middle East is divided naturally. Even the term Middle East is a not U.S., it's a British naval officer's term. It's divided. East of what? Middle of what? These are colonial terms, colonial logics. But when you look at the map, they basically divided the Middle East up among Western European powers, and they cut across tribal differences, ethnic differences. It's divided in such a way that it leads to the very problem that they say they're trying to avoid. This is the issue. Colonialism is happening. The mandatory system, the protectorate system, all of it of the 20th century was colonial. Um, there's no, there's just no way to understand the battles and struggles of the Middle East without understanding not just the colonial legacy, but the lingering colonial presence. It's really that simple. Anyway, let's move on to another topic that I want to get to before we go, and that is these Epstein revelations. That's the word I was looking for. Before we go, I want to look at these Epstein revelations. The House Oversight Committee voted Wednesday, today, to subpoena Attorney General Pam Bondi over the Justice Department's handling of files related to Jeffrey Epstein. 5 Republicans joined with all Democrats in support of the motion put forward by GOP Representative Nancy Mace. Congress passed a measure last year requiring the files be made public, but critics want more transparency as the DOJ reviews the documents and releases the documents. Bondi has defended the DOJ's handling of the documents, and the Justice Department didn't immediately comment on the subpoena. What we know, though, again, is that the Justice Department is screwing up royally when it comes to the Epstein files. Now, if you assess the Justice Department based on their willingness to protect the powerful, then they're doing great. If you look at them based on their commitment to maybe protecting the president, if not the president himself, the president's friends, from prosecution, investigation, shame, it's exposure, then they're doing great. But if we're talking about making files transparent and public, redacting the names of the powerful while protecting the voices and names of the innocent, we got to be clear about that. Then the Justice Department is screwing up royally. And everybody knows that. That's what makes this Epstein thing so frustrating. Nobody is unclear about what's happening. It is entirely and wholly clear that the Epstein files are being withheld from the public in full form. It is entirely clear that the most powerful people in this nation, the most powerful people in this world are being protected. Their images, their names, their actions are being protected, defended, explained away, whatever you want to call it. It's clearly happening. Watching that Clinton hearing, the deposition, both Hillary and Bill, shows you that there's lots of people connected to this stuff, either tangentially or directly. I'm not saying the Clintons are guilty. I'm certainly not saying Hillary's guilty. Bill, I don't know. I ain't trust that. I ain't trust his hearing. But regardless, we know that this extends far beyond the 2 or 3 names we were told years ago. This reaches the upper echelons of society, and we need to manage this. But Pam Bondi defending the DOJ's handling of the document shows you not that they don't get what proper handling is, because they do, that they're willing to play in our faces. They're willing to lie to us and tell us that things are okay when they're absolutely not. All right. Let's move on to one more thing. We got to talk about this one because this one's interesting to me too. Despite President Trump's recent unilateral military action against multiple countries, we could think Venezuela, we could think Iran, Democrats appear to be holding their fire, at least when it comes to calling for his impeachment. Donald Trump's already been impeached twice, by the way, in case y'all forgot. He got impeached in 2019 over allegedly withholding with Ukraine aid. He got impeached in 2021 over his actions regarding January 6th, that whole insurrection of the country. Both times the Senate voted to acquit him. Now, if Democrats win back the House, Trump said he fears facing a third impeachment, and it may re-enter the conversation. It might even be a contentious issue for Democrats in 2027. Democrats may regain at least one of these chambers of Congress. That matters for when it comes to impeachment, or just policing Trump, managing Trump in general. Democrats are not impeaching Trump right now for maybe good reason. I mean, are these impeachable offenses? Debatable, but let's say they are. What's the point of impeaching Trump if the Senate's going to acquit him again? It just makes him look more Teflon, and it makes the Democrats look more bloodthirsty, more petty, more vengeful. I'm not saying that's true. I'm saying that's what they'll look like. That's how Trump has managed to spin this. So if you're the Democrats, you don't want to impeach Donald Trump unless you can actually be successful in the long haul. In other words, if he ain't leaving office, if he ain't going to get found guilty, do not impeach again. It does not help. All it does is help Republicans fundraise. In this case, it helped J.D. Vance mount his campaign. This is why we need another one of us behind Trump, because the Democrats are going to run reckless after I leave. That's what Trump's going to say. And it's not the worst argument to persuade somebody who already is MAGA. Now, those of us with good common sense know it's not true. But again, it ain't the worst argument for somebody who already believes MAGA. Make sense? So I'm not mad at the Democrats for not impeaching yet. You have to be tactical and strategic. We can't just always think about our political goals and aims based on our most deeply held philosophical or ideological positions. We got to figure out what's going to work. So if you're a Democrat, again, I'm not a Democrat, but if you're a Democrat, you maybe shouldn't be so mad that they're not impeaching right now. If you are to the left of the Democratic Party, if you're a Green Party member, for example, like me, you probably should feel the same way. But I'm telling you, if the Democrats run on impeachment, I don't know how that goes. They may mobilize their opponent's base more than they think. But if the Democrats are able to get control of the House and, more importantly, the Senate in this case, go for it. Get this guy out of here. Get Trump out of here. I think that's a brilliant idea. But you got to make sure you got the votes, the victorious votes. Anyway, I want to thank y'all. I want to thank y'all for watching tonight. Night school's been great. We're on the road here in Pittsburgh, so I want to roll out. But I want to thank you. Your boy's going to get some sleep because I got to wake up in 3.5 hours, about 4 hours. I got to wake up in 4 hours to get on this 6 a.m. flight. So I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Make sure you hit the QR code. Go to Patreon. Join us on Patreon. We got a lot more content over there. New episode of In This Thing Together is out. New conversation, new interview and conversations with Rich Dolezal is out. Check both of them out. Join and support independent media. Support Black media, grassroots media, radical media, whatever you want to call it, because we're all those things. We check all those boxes. Make sure you sign up. Make sure you join right here on YouTube, but also on Patreon.